Now, Rob, one of the most celebrated movies out there, like ever. You talk to cinephiles and movie fans and stuff like that, and you talk about
Josie
favorites.
Well,
I mean, that aside, at some point in the conversation, you're going to come around to somebody bringing up the Michael Mann film Heat with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino and Val Kilmer and whatnot. You're going to get around to Heat. Now, we've known for a little while here that Michael Mann has been working on a prequel novel for Heat. That's been known. However, what some people may not know is that his plan is to turn this prequel novel actually into a prequel movie. He wants to do a prequel movie of Heat. This is what he says. He says, it's a stack about 10 inches high on my desk right now, talking about his draft of the novel he's doing. We're on it, and I'm putting time into that and a screenplay I can't tell you about, but I absolutely want to make a movie of the Heat prequel. He's saying, like he's coming right out, he wants to make a prequel to Heat. Now, Rob, I suspect to a lot of people, the notion of a Heat prequel is probably paramount to, I don't know, heresy. I think there are a lot of people that would say any sort of thing you try to do with Heat or anything like that is practically heresy. It is beloved and all that kind of stuff. And you know me, I'm not a big fan of prequel material. I prefer stories to move forward. But Rob, you heard about this. You know, Mann's been working on this novel. Are you interested at all in them taking this Heat story and making a prequel out of it? What are your feelings on this?
Well, look, I worship at the altar of Michael Mann. I mean, I saw Thief with my grandfather, which is pretty shocking. His first theatrical feature in 81. And I heard the most incredible profanity I'd ever heard in a movie. And I'm sitting next to my stoic, very proper grandfather, and I felt mortified, but I knew I loved Michael Mann after that. And I've watched every one of his films. I love his work, even things that, like, you know, maybe aren't the best. But, you know, again, like you, the idea of a prequel to Heat, like, how far back are you going to go? To, like, Neil McCauley's early days before he went to the prison for the first time, or Vincent Hanna, you know, Al Pacino's character when he was a young beat cop? I mean, the problem with a Heat prequel, look, we're getting a Sopranos prequel that I'm interested in seeing.
Many Saints of Newark. Yeah, I really want to see that. Now, it would be interesting to see the idea of how somebody began a life of crime told by Michael Mann. Like somebody in the modern day, like if Heat really takes place in the mid-90s, let's say you went back to Neil McCauley and it was how he started out his crew in the 70s, for instance. So you had a period piece. Michael Mann would bring a searing authenticity to that I think could be pretty dope. But, like, does it have to be a Heat prequel? Couldn't you tell the same story? Like, I don't want them to de-age Robert De Niro now. Like, I just, this idea was, if you have a story about how a man is drawn into a life of crime and becomes as methodical and good at his job as De Niro's Neil McCauley's character does in Heat, that could be really interesting. But does it have to be a Heat prequel? Couldn't just be a crime thriller? I mean, that's where he lives. That's where Michael Mann has lived so many times, whether it was Thief or Crime Story or Miami Vice or Heat or even Public Enemies or even Black Hat, which I have a little bit of love for than most people, more love than most people. I think it could be a great story, but why a prequel? Like, are you going to show them both? Well, I don't know. Maybe he just feels like the recognizability of the IP would get him a leg up, and maybe that would induce a studio to okay it and greenlight it and fund it. And I get that rationale, but I'm kind of with you on this. I'm not a big fan. I mean, there are exceptions. Of course there are exceptions. I'm not generally a big fan of the prequel route. Question here is, guys, what do you think about this? Would you be, if Mann himself was doing it, are you interested in a Heat prequel? Jump on down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.